I think you're going to get a lot out of this one. I want to show you exactly how to find and negotiate the best deal when it comes to buying a piece of real estate. Oftentimes people overlook the foreclosures, the fixer-uppers, and the one that most people miss are the don't wanters. I'm going to show you how to locate those properties, what to do to negotiate, the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to buying any piece of real estate. My name's Wayne Turner. For nearly 30 years, I've done everything when it comes to real estate, buying, flipping, selling, you name it. I share that with you so you can have the confidence knowing that the information that you learn from me is from tried and true experience. So grab a pen and a piece of paper. You're going to want to take notes. So oftentimes people relate to a foreclosure with getting a good deal, and that's not always the case, but there is some strategy that you need to know when it comes to buying a foreclosure, a fixer-upper, or any piece of property, and that is, how long has the home been on the market? See, I mentioned don't wanters, and I'll get into that in just a second, but a foreclosed property, if it's just hit the market, they're going to give it time to season, if you will, to see if anybody's going to pay that price. Now, once you've hit 30, 60, 90, 100 days, 6 months on the market, those prices keep coming down, and I can assure you, those homes that are foreclosures that have been on the market for 120, 4 months, the bank's going to be much more willing to negotiate. So when it comes to making such an offer, don't be afraid to make an offer that's 20, 30% less than what they have it listed for. Now, it's important to know this when it comes to buying a bank-owned home. Banks don't get in any hurry, so you can't get too frustrated. If you feel like you're getting a good deal, you just have to hang in there because these offers are submitted through websites, and oftentimes it takes them forever to give you an answer, 3 to 4 days. I know that's not that much time, but it does seem like forever when you're waiting for a response. And most of the time, they will not tell you a counter offer. They'll just reject it, so you have to make another offer. So you just have to know that process going in when it comes to foreclosures. Now, if you want a place to find foreclosures before they ever get listed, you can go to findmyforeclosure.com. That is a paid site that I have. You pay for a subscription to have access to that. You can cancel at any time, but that gives you foreclosures, bank-owned, fixer-uppers, if you will, short-sold properties, bankruptcy sales, all in your hometown at one local website. Now, this is a really good one, and they're hard to find because they're not labeled like a foreclosure. When we list foreclosures as real estate brokerage companies, we put in there that it is a foreclosed property. That's a required field. We put it in there and you can see that. But estate sales, and estate sales are homes where somebody owned the home and they've passed away. They no longer are living in the home. They don't own the home. There's a death in the family, and the family will come in, liquidate everything, they'll sell stuff, pull everything out, and then they put that home on the market. You can typically get a pretty good deal on these homes because people are not so much emotionally attached to that property because it's never been their own personal home. Perhaps it's been their mother or their father's. And the second thing when it comes to estate sales is oftentimes they need to be updated. They need a little TLC. They need to be fixed up just a little bit. I can't tell you how many times that I've bought, sold, and seen people purchase estate sales and get fantastic deals. Now, another one, and it's kind of obvious, and it kind of plays into the whole foreclosure scene, is a fixer-upper. Not all fixer-uppers are foreclosures. Not all foreclosures are fixer-uppers. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. So you may have a fixer-upper property, and that too, just like estate sales, is not a required field. There's nothing there that you can click and search for those. You just have to kind of look at the fine print, look at the photographs, look at the pictures. Now, if you want to find and locate estate sales or fixer-uppers, the best thing to do is just to get with a top local real estate agent in your area. If you need help with that, you can go to wayneturner.com, click buying, and then from there, shoot me your information. We'll connect you with a local agent that's professional in your own marketplace. But fixer-uppers, estate sales, foreclosures, all of those. Let's jump into some more. Now, keep in mind, before you get to searching and looking, especially making an offer, you can look, you can search, but you got to get your cash right. You got to get your money right. And here's what I mean by cash. Oftentimes people are like, Wayne, I don't have cash. I don't know what you're talking about. But when you get approved for a loan to buy a house, it has nothing to do with the house. You have to know that buying a house is not like buying a car. You don't go to the car lot, like it, smell it, touch it. They put you in the room with a dude and they say you can or can't buy it. That's not the case. This way, when you purchase a piece of real estate, you go to local mortgage lenders, credit unions. They will approve you based on your income, your assets, how much cash reserves you have, what do you want to put down, what's your plan to do. They pull your credit, verify your income, job, all of that. Once they give you a piece of paper that says you're approved, it's like a cash. It's like cash. And here's why it's like cash. Because when you go to the closing table, you're approved. The lender's giving you money on that home. And that cash that the lender's giving you to give to the seller is cash to them. Now look, if you got cash, don't be afraid to show it. Don't be afraid to brag about it. I've had so many people say, well, Wayne, I can buy cash. I'm like, well, let's see your proof of funds. Well, I don't need to show you my proof of funds. Well, you ain't gonna get a good deal, people. Come on. You gotta show that you got the cash, you got the money, you gotta prove. Once you're there, you're gonna get a great deal on a house. And here's a good trick to do that, and that is close quick. When you have an approval letter and you can close fast, especially if that house is vacant, if it's a foreclosure, if it's vacant, and if it's a don't want it's a vacant. And here's what I mean by don't wanters. Don't wanters are those homes that have been on the market for 6 months. Like literally you can go into and filter, or have an agent work with you and filter out homes that have been on the market for 6 months or longer. There's some homes, we call them birthday homes. They've literally been on the market for a year and they've had a birthday. Those homes are gonna be more motivated. And you can also look and see now, you can look and see, was that home previously listed for sale? So oftentimes the home's been on the market for 3 to 4 to 6 months. They've adjusted the price, listed with another real estate brokerage company, and it looks like it's only been on the market for say a week or 2 or a month. But you can always look at the history. Your good real estate agent can show you the history and say, hey, this home's been on the market for 6 months, and a good real estate agent's working for you on your part, right? This one's been on the market 6 months with the previous agent. It's been vacant for 7 months. Let's make them a song of a deal. Let's close quick. Let's close in 2 weeks. And I promise you, you'll get a good deal every time. Now hear me out, don't get me wrong, you can close in 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean you don't do an inspection. You have to know this, when you buy a fixer-upper foreclosure or anybody's home, you reserve the right to get it inspected. So oftentimes people see as is and they think, well, I have to buy it as is. Well, you are buying it as is after you close, but you have to understand you still reserve the right as a human being buying a piece of real estate to have that property inspected. And if you don't like what you see during that inspection period, typically it's 7 to 14 days, whatever's negotiated in the contract, try to negotiate at least 14 days to give you enough time to do the inspections, because you may not want just a general inspection. You may need a mold inspection, a septic inspection, a well inspection, a general home inspection. The general home inspector is not going to inspect the well and the septic and all those other things. So always know, get the home inspected. It's the best $400 you'll ever spend. And for those of you who have never seen one of those, that's a clothesline. So years ago, before dryers, that dried your clothes. Now here's another tip to get a good deal on a piece of property. Let's just say that you've got a home that you want to buy and it's been next door to your mom or a family member and you've seen the house for years and that person passed away, it's an estate sale. You can go in and purchase it. And oftentimes they're like, well, I'm not fixing anything. Well, you can get a pretty good deal on that house if you're comfortable buying that house as is, of course, right? But waiving your right to do an inspection. Say, you know what, I'm not going to inspect the property. That's fine. I'm just going to buy it as is. But oftentimes you can get burnt. You have to know, has there ever been anything flushed down the toilets? Has anyone ever poured concrete in the drains? I could tell you dozens of stories. So that's why I always say, when in doubt, do a home inspection. But if you're comfortable with that piece of property, you can say as is, where he is, close in 2 weeks. I got the cash, here's my approval letter. Say I got the cash, here's the approval letter, because well, like I said, they're gonna get cash when they close on the home. They're getting cash that day. Now look, here's something that people, they make this mistake. They get a home inspection, they rely on that general home inspection. If you remotely think that there's ever been a fire, flood, tree fall on the house or anything like that, you may want to consider doing a mold inspection. Here's why. Tree falls on the house, if it's been in the summertime especially, all it takes is 24 hours with no electricity in the hot, humid air, and it will absolutely set in mold, which can be extremely toxic, can make you really sick, make your animals sick, children sick, all of that. The other thing is, if a house is caught on fire, what do they use to put the fire out? Water. Well, if it's warm outside, hot outside, and there's been no electricity, because if there's a fire on the property, they'll shut the electricity off to remodel the house. Listen, water takes the path of least resistance. It can crawl and climb and slide and get into cracks you never knew existed. And you just, when in doubt, always have the home inspected for mold. And of course, if it's flooded, you don't know how long it's been since it's flooded and what they did to remediate the process of getting it back to its normal state after it's flooded. So when in doubt, just do a mold inspection. I'll put a link below. You can actually order a mold test on properties if you have a home you suspect it, or if you're just curious and you're purchasing a house, you can get a mold inspection. They run about $600 to $700. They come into the house, they will check the air in your house that you're about to buy, and they will tell you specifically there's mold in this area. They have moisture meters, they can probe into walls, and they can show you exactly where the mold is, so you know exactly what to negotiate, and most importantly, whether or not you want to buy that home. And certainly, I'm not trying to frighten or scare anyone. I just need you to be prepared. My goal in life is to simplify the process of real estate. The good Lord above put me on this planet to know real estate, to teach real estate. That's what I believe, and I'm here to teach it to everyone that's willing to listen. The other inspection that people miss is a septic inspection, a well inspection, or a termite inspection. If the property has a septic system, you can have that system inspected. You want to make sure that it's working properly to its intended function. The well is the same way. You need to have the water tested, but not just the water tested. You need to make sure that the pump is in working order and everything is up to par. Now, termites, they'll eat you out of house and home. I've literally seen some crazy stuff, and I've had a couple of homes that I've owned personally that I lived in that had termites. So when in doubt, get it inspected for termites, get the well inspected, get the septic system inspected, because here's what happens. You can still purchase the house. Anytime you do an inspection on a home, you can still purchase it. And you have to know this. This is really, really, really important. Whenever you go to purchase a piece of property and you do your inspection, if it comes back that things are not working to their intended function, or they're broken window, leaky faucet, anything like that, you can negotiate with the seller to either pay you to fix it yourself or have them fix it before you take ownership in the home. Now keep in mind, they can pay you after you take ownership on the home. They can pay you at closing, but it depends on what type of loan you get. For example, you get an FHA loan, that can't happen. It's called under the table money. They can pay your closing costs, they can pay your prepaids, but they can't give you money per se legally. Now, if you're paying with cash and get other types of loans, whether it be a hard money loan or anything like that, it really doesn't matter. But any kind of government-backed loan, you're not supposed to do that. So look, hang in there with me. There's more good stuff to come. If you've been here this far, thank you so much. Give me a thumbs up if you find this good information. Another inspection process that people miss is HVAC. That's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. It's okay to have that inspected or have the seller service it for you. Now, you got to know that when you're buying a lot of these houses that are fixer-uppers, right, or foreclosures especially, they winterize these homes. And winterization means they put solutions in the plumbing piping. They turn the electricity off. They put solutions in the plumbing piping, so if it gets below freezing, that the pipes won't freeze. And here's what happens oftentimes. Not all foreclosures, but you just have to know different banks own different properties, and they may be a bank-owned home, that's a foreclosure, and they won't let you unwinterize the property. And if that's the case, you may not want to buy that property because you're taking the chance. Now, what you can do is you can have a plumbing inspection done on the property. They can come and run a scope, run cameras through the drain, and they can show you that if it's broken, if it's cracked, if it's busted, it has a swag, or anything like that. Plumbing inspections are a good thing, good rule of thumb, because oftentimes tree roots can wreak havoc on the plumbing in a house. Now, I've got a question for you. You can give me a thumbs up or please leave a comment. Have you or someone that you know personally had an issue with a neighbor encroaching upon your property, or you had a fence encroached upon their property? By that, I mean there's a storage building and it's on your property. So when in doubt, get a survey on the property, or oftentimes there's a recorded survey. You can find at the county clerk of court's office, the register of deeds, if you will, in your county seat. You can go there. Oftentimes title companies can pull it for you. There is a recorded copy of that survey. And then from there, you can take as simple as a metal detector. I'll put a link below. I've got a good one that I bought. It's a Garrett brand. The metal detector, you can walk around because there's pins on every corner. So whenever there's a meet and bound and it stops into a corner, you can go out there and you can actually find that stake. Now, it might be 6, 8, sometimes 10 inches underground. You'll have to dig it up, and then you can stake it off. And then from staking it off, you can simply run string from one point to the next, to the next, to the next. And that will tell you is anything that you own on your neighbor's property, or anything that your neighbor owns is on your property. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's a survey cost, and what do they do when they survey? Well, if you don't have a copy of the survey is on a plot of land. The plat is the plat map. The plot is the actual plot of land, if you will, thus like a burial plot, right? A surveyor is going to come out and they're going to look at the legal description of the property. They're going to look for the pins. They're going to stake the property, and they'll do exactly what I'm talking about doing. The cost of a survey will range anywhere from $700 to upwards of the thousands of dollars. It has a lot to do with whether or not it's just a house like this one that they can easily see. Well, more than likely, there's a fence post, there's a telephone pole, that survey's there. But once they have to trek off into some land and fight the ticks and the chiggers and all of that on, say, 20 acres, they're going to charge you thousands of dollars. It may be somewhere $4,000 or $5,000 to have a survey done. Now, if the seller doesn't want to do it, you can do it, or you can ask the seller to pay half of it. And if you don't buy the property, you're only out half the money. Are you with me? So let's jump back into negotiating that price and getting a good deal. You have to know this, that's a large ticket item, a house. And more than likely, if you're not paying with cash, you're going to be getting some sort of a long-term mortgage on that property. So you have to look at payment. I don't mean to sound like a cheesy salesperson, but the actual reality is you're going to be paying payments. And so oftentimes, it's easy to get frustrated when you have a price in mind that you think the house is worth, especially if it's going to be your personal residence, your home that you're going to live in. You like the school district, you like the location, you like the house. You're a husband and wife, or husband and husband, wife and wife, whatever you may be. And one of you really likes the house and one of you's not so sure, and then the whole money thing gets in the middle. Here's what I mean by that. You may be $10,000 off and you think, I'm not giving them $10,000 more, that's 10 grand. Here's the reality. The reality is that 10 grand is only going to run you about $60 a month. That's how much it costs on a 30-year amortization. Now, if you do 15, it's going to be a little bit more per month. But that's what you have to look at. You just have to know for every $100,000 that you borrow, it's $600 in principal interest payments every single month. Now, $600 a month is your principal and interest payment only. That does not include your taxes, insurance, or your monthly insurance premium, and that's based on a 6% rate. So you have to know that if you do not put 20% down on a piece of property, the bank's going to require that you pay the monthly insurance premium. They call it MIP, mortgage insurance premium, right? That is an insurance policy that the bank takes out in case you default on the loan because you didn't put 20% down. They look at it as if you put 20% down, then you got quite a bit of money in the house, and the likelihood of you foreclosing is slim to none. Now, here's another trick or a tactic, if you will, whenever you're buying a piece of property. Listen, cash is king. It's hard to come by, right? You're working hard, you're saving your money. And you may be out there thinking, I'm going to buy a house come springtime. I'm going to buy a house come fall, come winter, whatever it may be. And you're thinking, I got to have all this money saved up because it's going to cost me 3.5% for a down payment and 3.5% for closing costs. So I'm going to need 7% if I buy a $300,000 house. I got to save $21,000. That's not the case because the seller can pay your closing cost up to 3.5% of your loan amount. So keep that in mind because that $21,000 can literally turn into like $10,500 and you can buy a house because the seller pays your closing costs. Now keep in mind, you're really financing that money, and here's what I mean by that, because the seller, if they sell you a property for $300,000 and they pay $10,000 of your closing cost, your net sale, your net purchase is $290 because you bought it for $3. Your finance is based on $3, right? $300,000. But they gave you $10,000 towards closing costs. That's not cash at closing, but it's going towards your closing costs. So it's less money that you have to come up with at the closing table. Now, when you're a home buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, you can purchase a warranty on the house. Now, a lot of people say, oh, they won't cover anything. I put them on all my properties. I always do. I never have too much trouble. Most of my clients say the same thing. You may have one or two, and there's different companies out there. I personally am a fan of Old Republic. They don't pay me to say that. I'm not getting any kickbacks or money from them. I'm just telling you the God honest truth. That's a company that I've used for about 20 years, and they seem to do a really good job. And Old Republic, basically, can put a warranty on your house from anywhere from $600 to $1,200, depending on if it's multifamily, depends on the size of the house. They don't do any sort of inspection or anything like that. It's just placed on the home. It begins the day that you close. And if something breaks or goes wrong, for example, water heater, central heat and air compressors, anything like that in the house that's a major component, if it breaks, you simply go online, fill out a service request, they come out, they fix it, and there's typically only a $50 to $100 service call, depending on the warranty that you buy. Now, when it comes to buying a piece of real estate, it's one of the most stressful things you could ever go through in life. Why? Because it's the unknown. You just aren't aware of what's going to happen next. And that's my ultimate goal, to simplify the process, to make it as simple and as easy, and to make it fun. That's why the agents that I have all around the country, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, they have the same the same mindset. We want to make it fun. We want to make it exciting. We want to make it enjoyable. We want you to build wealth and make money. I bought my first house. I was nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. My aunt said, aren't you excited? I was like, hell, I'm too nervous to be excited. I'm committing myself to this house and I got to pay it. And you're like, dude, you can sell it in 2 to 3 years. You got to have shelter anyway, right? So anyway, I thank you for hanging around. I hope you like this video. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I promise you'll learn something good and new on every single episode.